High hopes and lost dreams. One name you probably haven't heard is Patrick Byrne.
We have products come from fail.coms. We have products from chainsaws to bread makers to baby furniture to toys to Rolex watches. That gives you an idea of what's going on in the industry.
It's time for E-Trade. The dot-com revolution. It was supposed to be the new economy, where the old rules of business were rewritten. And it seemed everyone wanted to get in on it. Pet food, books, even discount hotel rooms. For some, hype and attitude ruled. Actual profits were an afterthought.
Spank your mind.
And Wall Street loved it.
Great day for the NASDAQ Composite.
A time of limitless possibilities, which brought these people together at the intersection of hope and fast money. A traditional jeweler.
You say to yourself, yeah, I'm not doing this for $5,000, $10,000. You're doing it for the possibility of millions of dollars.
A hip young writer.
It's like, yeah, we're going to take over the world. It's going to be great.
But it didn't turn out that way, which is what brought us to Patrick Byrne.
I was raised on this principle: when you see your competitor drowning, you stick a fire hose down his throat. And I see a lot of bad business models out there. When we all wanted to be the sharks and the piranha and everything in the ecosystem, we want to be the catfish on the bottom.
You're the bottom feeder.
We're just sitting there letting it all float down and just sucking it all in.
On his warehouse shelves, what he calls the hangover of the dot-com intoxication. But to understand how he amassed this stockpile, consider the story of Richard Cornelia.
I'm moving out of the area. I need to cancel my cable service.
He's packing in his plans to ride the cyber highway to riches. Cornelia heard the siren song of fast money a year and a half ago when he was the vice president of sales operations at Tourneau in New York, the upscale watch dealer. He dropped everything to become part of a luxury jewelry startup called Meadora.com.
And you see all these young people becoming millionaires. You think to yourself, hey, that could be me. This is my chance.
Absolutely. The proof is there. It's all around you. I'm just trying to jump on board of something that's happening. It's the gold rush.
He and his family landed at the epicenter of the internet revolution, Silicon Valley.
The cars you see, the houses you see, the money you see being spent is that way. I mean, everybody's got BMWs, Jaguars, Mercedes.
His gold was stock options. He got options to buy 120,000 shares at 10 cents apiece. If Meadora went public at $12 to $15 a share, his payday would have been nearly $14 million. He says all he heard was get the company's stock traded on the public market through what's called an IPO.
Spend the money, spend the money, spend the money. Don't leave it on the table. That's a quote. I heard that.
What were you thinking when you heard it?
I'm saying these guys must know what they're doing. They've done it before. You know, put us out there and make the stocks worth something and make us all millionaires.
Like other dot-coms, he says Meadora's mission was to lure customers to the site. In 18 months, they spent $30 million on glossy catalogs and expensive ads. The result? Only $10 million in sales.
Had you ever suspected that you could not turn a profit, in fact be losing money, yet have a successful IPO?
You saw it happening. There was no concern about, gee, if we're losing money, we're not going to IPO. There was like, the more you lose, the better the IPO could be.
Using that logic, Meadora was headed for a great IPO because the company was hemorrhaging cash, burning through $50 million in less than 2 years.
It's been a very big and bad day on the market today.
The dot-com fallout began last spring, and by the fall, well, it was in free fall. Meadora's management pulled the plug. They never even got a chance to take the company public. Type in Meadora.com today, and it takes you to a site called Overstock.com, which is Patrick Byrne's company in Salt Lake City.
There's about $12 million of jewelry in here, most of it taken from fail.coms.
Byrne is an old-fashioned liquidator, snapping up bargains, and failed.coms are his latest prey. Byrne actually visited Meadora on its last day and met Richard Cornelia.
It was a sad day. People were in tears, and everyone had just been laid off.
I happened to be walking right up to the reception area, and this gentleman, tall gentleman, comes walking in. I said, can I help you with something?
You know, it was not the most appropriate moment, but you have to be a little bit up front. So I took my business card and I wrote, I have cash on it. And I said, just take this to the CEO. He'll want to talk to me.
And when I saw the card, I said, oh, maybe there's somebody here that's really going to put some money in the company and bail us out. So I'm all excited.
Not exactly. What Byrne had in mind wasn't a bailout, but a buyout. In just 5 minutes, he got $6 million worth of inventory for only about $2.5 million.
They call you the Grim Reaper.
You know, I feel bad for the people. I'm trying to make them feel better and let them know that there's a lot of people in the same situation. But to me, you know, I feel like saying, hey, officer, he was dead when I got here.
Miadora is just one of the dozen or so .coms whose merchandise is now part of Byrne's warehouse, the size of 8 football fields. So vast, we used scooters to get around.
This is a Rolex, maybe $600 or $6,500 retail. Miadora was selling this for about $5,500. We're selling it for about $2,500, $2,800.
His aisles are now like a .com graveyard.
ToyTime.com, they had, I think, $50 million or $60 million that they blew through. We got all their inventory for $3.5 million. This is all from a company called eHats. It's a company that went under with $500,000 worth of hats. We'll be selling Stetsons at 50 or 60% off retail.
Too many .coms, he says, even ones that are still around. Wasted money on sleek offices, too much inventory, Super Bowl commercials.
Cute little guy.
And parties like this one. Activa.com's renaming celebration. And Byrne says Wall Street and venture capitalists all betrayed the public's trust.
They profited from it, fed the hype, and then at the end of the day sold the public a pig in a poke.
And you think they knew it?
At some level, they had to know. You can't sell pet food, $20 bags of pet food for $5 and spend $15 shipping it and think you have a business there someday. But they all drank the same Kool-Aid. It was sort of an exercise in mass delusion.
Investors at every stage of the cycle, from venture capital through the public market, lowered their standards.
Roger McNamee is a VC, a venture capitalist, with Integral Capital Partners, a top Silicon Valley investment firm. How did someone who has a business degree and is a savvy investor get caught up in backing a company that didn't have a sound business plan?
It is a sad reality that investors tend to choose the firms they invest with and the companies they invest in, not based on future prospects, but based on their immediate past record. And it is that intense competition that, in effect, forces investors to do what their competitors are doing and to relax their standards from time to time because they need to keep pace.
The champagne days of soaring IPOs have now given way to scenes like these.
As you can see, I pink's the pig.
A goodbye party for fresh-out-of-work .comers.
What went wrong? You know, it's like everything.
Don't put 20-somethings in charge.
Known as pink slip parties, they come to drown their sorrows and even network to find new jobs.
I got laid off. Don't clean out your desk, just go. And you're gone.
Alex Ivy was at that party. The 24-year-old was laid off from his job as a writer for the ultra-slick IndiePlanet.com.
It was very hip, it was very cool, and everybody kind of had this air of like, yeah, we're going to do something really great here.
The problem? The company they were owned by burned through $40 million in about a year and a half, and they never came close to a profit. With stories on obscure topics like a local artist who builds perches for people to sit on.
How do you take millions and have nothing to show for it? What were they thinking?
If you could answer that, I'd love to hear it. I don't think they were thinking anything.
Was it the blind leading the blind?
I think it was the euphoric leading the euphoric. Here we are, we've got all this money, we just got a chance to do something really great here, and let's, frolic down the street until somebody trips and falls.
They did. A very hard, humiliating public fall. At last count, 91 .coms have closed their doors, and nearly 40,000 employees have been laid off. Naturally, all chronicled on the internet. And many internet companies that are still around have seen their stock prices plummet by 90% or more, like Priceline.com. It reached a high of $165 a share. Yesterday, they closed just above $1. And Drugstore.com, their high was $70. Yesterday, about $1 as well.
This appears to be tapered, which really looks good.
As for Richard Cornelia, he's back at a traditional jewelry company. He's glad he gave it a shot, but...
That word greed comes into it. I wanted a piece of it. And it unfortunately didn't come about.
Alex Ivy is actually working at another .com as a financial writer, but this time with a more jaundiced eye. What is the lesson that you took away?
I know how not to run a business.
How not to run a business.
Yeah, how not to run a business.
And as for Patrick Byrne, well,
it's like a Christmas tree that we can hang just different baubles off. By the time the story airs, we'll have discounted hotel rooms up. We'll be in books, we'll go into CDs. This is like a black hole that's just going to suck in each business it encounters. He said, hopefully.
Some failed .com companies like Politics.com and Pets.com, just to name two, are so flat out broke that they're selling off their names. Pets.com has even put its famous sock puppet mascot on the auction block, hoping to use the money to pay off debts. We'll be back.